Okay, so, okay, here it is. So, like I mentioned, our chair is called the UNESCO Chair on Gender Equality in Higher Education Institutions. The chair was created in 2016 under the direction of Patricia Ruiz Bravo. She's a professor of the Academic Department of Social Sciences. It is the only UNESCO chair on gender in Peru, and actually the only UNESCO chair in our university. The research team at the UNESCO chair is part of the Gender Studies Research Group, which is an interdisciplinary group that includes faculty members and students interested in gender and equality issues. Its goal is to develop a space for academic exchange that promotes research, teaching, and participation in policy debates and advocacy for change in situations of inequality. So as part of our team, we have faculty members from the humanities, social sciences, from law, literature, from different areas, so that we can work from an interdisciplinary perspective that we feel it's very important when you address issues related to gender. And as you will see, we also address gender-based violence, sexual violence, and women in STEM. So our mission, we have like 4 main goals as part of our mission. First, we aim at doing research of the situation of women in higher education institutions in Peru. Peru is a country where women and men still have a lot of difference in their careers. Women are paid less. There's less women in positions of authorities at the universities. There's less women as faculty professors, and also especially in some areas like law, engineering, STEM, philosophy, economics. So part of our work is to do this research in order to have data for a later proposal to adopt policies, you know, like policies to change the university system and the way faculty members get promoted and get bonuses. So our second goal is to raise awareness among the universities, communities, and other higher education institutions nationwide on gender inequalities and gender violence. Something that happens in Peru, and also I see that happens in other countries after hearing all of your presentations, is that we talk about gender inequality, which includes gender violence, sexual violence, other forms of discrimination, but not everyone, or actually many people, do not understand what gender inequality is. So something that we realized that was very important and a key point towards our mission is to make people understand what is gender inequality, why is it important to be addressed, and how to change it. And in that sense, we also realized that even though Peru is one of the countries with the highest gender violence cases, in the case of women, many people did not really understand what gender violence meant. They would think that gender violence only meant being physically assaulted, but they wouldn't understand any other manifestation. So part of our work has been to raise awareness so that people can recognize the behavior and stop, change the behavior. Or also we've had many students and faculty members that have come to us to do, for instance, like different kinds of campaigns, like visual campaigns. From the arts department, we've done a campaign with the students. So like to promote these, not only from an academic perspective, but also from visual arts, from videos, photographs, as I will show you later. Then we also have promote the development of institutional policies that foster more equitable and inclusive academic spaces. In Peru, before 2015, there was no university that had a policy that promoted gender equality. It was our university that approved for the first time ever nationwide gender equality policy. And that was the basis for 2016 when we approved the policies to fight sexual harassment. And then in 2020, as I will show you later, we also approved a protocol to help victims of sexual violence. So this has been very important because what we are doing at our university is also helping other universities nationwide that we work with so that they can also approve and have these policies in their universities. And then the fourth part of our mission is to establish cooperative networks with national and international universities to promote academic exchanges in order to question gender inequality and achieve more democratic and inclusive institutions. We realize that gender inequalities work in different ways in different countries. So for us, it's very important to promote this dialogue between different international universities, between different colleagues, because we know that if we know more about what happens somewhere else, you will also know more about what happens here. And that is important to fight in general terms, gender inequality and sexual violence. So we have 4 lines of work to carry out our mission: research, awareness raising, equality policies, and publications. So we've done different types of research, but these are like the 3 ones that I wanted to present today because they have a particular importance. So in 2018, we were part of a project with different universities internationally from Latin America. And so we did this study on sexual harassment in undergraduate students at our university. This was the first time that a private university did a study of sexual harassment. It was a very important moment because what happened, like on the one hand, we had a lot of criticism because of course, when you show that you have a problem, then you have people that criticize, what you're showing, but also that data helped to have the protocol that we then approved in 2020 to help victims of violence. So this study was like a central, a key issue for us when we discussed sexual harassment with authorities. Then we also have the research essay contest with a gender perspective. This is an annual contest that started in 2019. So in 2021, we're gonna launch the 3rd version. Last year, we got more than 120 essays from different places of the world, which was very encouraging. The idea of the contest is to promote that students from undergraduate and graduate levels start doing research with a gender perspective. So what we found is that we have students from economics, from law, from engineering, from the arts that were interested in gender, but we're not doing research with a gender perspective. So our idea was to promote that with this contest. And it was an interdisciplinary contest. And we had, like I mentioned last year, the 2nd version of the contest, more than 120 essays from different places in the world. And that was really, really encouraging. And we were very pleased. So when we have the next call for papers, I will make sure to send it over to all of you so you can help us with sharing it. And then we also have a research project that's ongoing that's in terms of preventing sexual harassment in universities of the Peruvian network of universities. So we have a team of faculty members and researchers from other universities nationwide that we started working with in 2016 when we did a research project on women in STEM. So when we did this project, we started talking with them, and we realized that that level of discrimination and violence that they were facing was outrageous. So we started this project to gather data for them to be able to ask the authorities to implement gender equality policies to prevent sexual violence. So that's part of what we're doing right now. In the Peruvian context, sexual violence is part of this very sexist, patriarchal form of acting and viewing the world. So when you talk about sexual violence, especially in places that are in rural areas, it is a very disruptive and a very complicated thing to talk about. So this is like something very important that we're doing, and like I heard from the presentations before in Africa, it's something that it's also very complicated here still. Okay, so in terms of awareness raising, we do different things. We have the annual UNESCO book lectures on gender equality. They are usually given by a very renowned international academic. We've had a professor from MIT, we've had a professor from CUNY in the US, and this is like a very, very important event, but also it's in English. So it also helps us to communicate with other people that are English speaking, because many of the things that we do are in Spanish, because not all the students in Peru and Latin America know English. So this particular event is in English and allows us to gather students and faculty members from different countries. Then we also do a lot of training modules for teachers, students, and authorities to prevent gender-based violence and sexual harassment, focusing on gender equality, empowerment, and the LGBTIQ+ inclusion. In Peru, the LGBTIQ+ community is very discriminated. There's a lot of prejudice and stereotypes. So part of what we're trying to do is show that gender equality is not only in terms of men and women, but also in terms of men, women, queer people, gender non-conforming people, trans people. You know, that the idea is that it is important that we recognize all of us in order to achieve a real gender equality. Then we also have this photographic exhibition that we organized during the pandemic. So last year it was with women in times of pandemic, in times of coronavirus. And then this year it was about long distance education. In Peru, the long distance education started last year in the beginning, and it's still going. So it's gonna be like 2 years of long distance education for everyone. Like, we don't have the difference like in other countries that the public sector might be long distance by the private doesn't. Like, the private and the public, we're all in the same boat. So we did this photographic exhibition, and that I'm going to show you because I think it's very powerful sometimes to see images. And then, well, we also have an international seminar on television, fiction, romantic love, and gender representation with speakers from 8 different countries. So we're really trying to promote this international dialogue. And that's why this space here, for me, it's a great, great moment to meet you all and see what we can all do in the future. So these are a few images that I just wanted to show. So this is the one Peruvian women in times of pandemic. So the idea was for women to share pictures of their experience during the lockdown. We were under lockdown for more than 100 days, and it was very hard for women. Here you can see another picture. Because of course, women were in charge of domestic activities. The rate of sexual violence in the homes increased exponentially. So it was a very complicated time for women, as you all know. So I just wanted to show like a few pictures that I have. Then this year, we did this long distance education in times of pandemic. So as you can see, we have images from different activity situations. Here's another one. And well, the third line of work has to do with equality policies. As I mentioned before 2015 in Peru, we didn't have equality policies in any sense. So after a lot of work that was done with the professors from the Gender Studies Research Group, we were able to have these policies in 2015 approved to promote gender equality. So the aim of the policies was to develop a culture and practice in the university community that promotes equality between men and women in different strategic areas, which is academic training, research, and university management. Then we also approved in 2016, and we've done a lot of work from the UNESCO chair towards promoting this regulation, was a regulation from the prevention and intervention in cases of sexual harassment. It was intended to ensure the proper treatment of complaints of sexual harassment made by students. Something that is very peculiar in Peru is that if it's a case of gender violence, it has to go through the state. If it's a case of sexual harassment, it can go through the university. That is why in 2020, we worked towards this protocol to prevent, assist, and protect victims of gender violence, because we realized there were a lot of victims of gender violence, but the university was not able to do much because they would have to do the whole process through the state. So we did this protocol, and the idea of the protocol is to be able to have procedures that all the units and personnel from the university knows how to act in cases of sexual harassment, gender-based violence, to provide a coordinated, articulated, and timely service contributing to the awareness and dissemination of information necessary to reduce the number of cases of gender-based violence, as well as to the good care and protection of the personal integrity of the victim, and to achieve fair investigations and compliance with the sanctions against the aggressor. The fight against sexual harassment and gender-based violence has been very hard, has been very challenging and demanding. And in the past few years, we've had the students doing a lot of manifestations and taking the streets in order for the authorities to acknowledge the fight and do something about it. And so far, that has been pretty helpful towards having this protocol and having gathering more data and doing more training modules, like I mentioned before. And so now I'm gonna go to publications. So I'll take one more minute because I know there's more people that's gonna come after me. So part of what we're doing, everything that we do it free of charge. Everything that we do, we try to disseminate it with as many people as possible. So one of the things that we have started in 2019 is that after the essays from the contest that I mentioned win, they are published by us. So we have like the volume 1, volume 2, volume 3. So the idea is that students not only start doing research with a gender perspective, but also they can see that is published and has an impact on other students, on other people. So it's like our aim is to motivate them, not only with the contest, but also with a publication. Then we are preparing a reader in a form of an ebook called Thinking Gender, Contemporary Readings. We have 20 articles from different professors, renowned professors internationally. So what we've done is that we've translated them to Spanish, because many of the students in Latin America do not know how to speak English as good as they might need to in order to read these articles. So we will publish this by the end of the year, and it's going to be free of charge, open access. And the idea is that we are trying to have students that speak in English to be able to reach and read and find different ways to think about gender. And then we're also preparing a virtual gender encyclopedia. So the idea is that you would be able to go to our website and then find different texts that have to do with gender in a very broad sense. So it can be gender with anything that you can imagine. You know, the idea is to show that when you talk about gender, you're not only talking about feminism, or you're not only talking about sexual violence, but when you talk about gender, you can talk about anything, because the idea is that having a gender perspective is a way of seeing the world and a way of seeing each other in the world. So that's why you can see it from, you know, law, engineering, the arts, different fields. So that's something that I wanted to share. I am very, very excited. Like I mentioned, this is an incredible opportunity to meet all of us. And also, I wish we could have this meeting in the future again. And well, thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you very much for listening to me also, because I know it's been a few hours since everything started. And that's all. So thank you.